Sorry for the rough nature of this particular video, but it's just about a day after the T6 accident, and I was just sitting in my hotel room, just trying to get some sleep after the long week, and it just kept coming in my head that I need to just talk about what exactly happened, what I saw, and just kind of get it out on video. Many of you, if you were watching the live stream, you'll have known my story already that I was telling on the live stream right after it happened. But I figured I'd add a little bit more context now that I've had a bit of time to watch some of the video clips that I have, and some of the audio, some of the radio calls and whatnot. Now, I don't have any video of the actual impact or accident or even of the aftermath, but the video I do have is that you can see some of the people around basically reacting to it, myself included, and just kind of the whole situation. I'm getting all that video off to the NTSB here today, and getting it all off on a flash drive. I talked to the local police about it. They have my business card and whatnot, so they can get all the information that I have. I don't have a lot, just kind of what I saw. Right over my shoulder here is basically right where it happened, so I figured this would be kind of the most fitting place to do this particular video. Obviously I'm not going to be polished and scripted and whatnot. This is kind of just an off-the-cuff thing. The weather's kind of closing in, which I guess is kind of fitting for the mood. So I guess we should start with, why I was out here. So I was out here on the end of, I guess it's Placerville or Packerville or whatever. It's a cul-de-sac out here on the west side of the course, just down the Valley of Speed. And I wanted to get the best video I possibly could of the races. And this being the last Reno ever, I want to get really good audio, and I want to get really close to the airplanes. Now, I'd been out to the pylons before. I'd had press passes in years gone by, but this year, because of, it's the last Reno, they were, working to get as many, professional video crews, press credentials as they could. I was the low man on the totem pole, so I didn't get that kind of access, and even if I did, I wouldn't have been able to do kind of what I wanted to do, which was get the audio and the video. So I was sitting out here with my whole setup. I might include some pictures of that whole setup. Multiple cameras, high-end audio, you name it, and a lot of you were watching the live stream as I was live streaming the whole event. And come Sunday, when all the gold races were happening, I was getting a bunch of really good footage. I got a bunch of good footage of the Formula 1 guys, and T6 Gold queued up. They were took off. It was a pretty uneventful little race there, but it was a good race. It was a very good race. They fought hard. I might include some clips of the race as well, and it seemed pretty uneventful aside from it being a really good race. And I guess one of the things about this week has been full of good races. Every single race, every single heat seemed to have at least one good, hard-fought battle, and it's like a Reno I'd never seen before. And as the planes were coming in, I'll tend to just point the cameras back at the stands, put on some graphics for people to see, what's the next upcoming heats, what stage we are at the schedule, who's flying, etc. on the live stream. So that was another person came by, and they said they saw the whole thing as well from a different vantage point. But so where was I in the story? Right, we had some great battles going on this week, some incredible battles. This was just up until the event. It was absolutely one of the best Renos I've ever been to. This might have been actually one of the best places to even see the races. And so they were recovering. I just heard, so they were recovering the airplanes, and I was sitting down getting the graphics ready for the next event, you know, new schedule, a new leaderboard, and getting that all set up. And I just heard a gasp, and just as I was moving my umbrella out of the way, I heard a crunch, and I looked up, and what I saw was effectively looking this way. I saw a wing fitting out kind of like this, the bottom side of the wing of one airplane going straight down with no tail. You can see the rest of the airplane, but there was just no tail there. There's pieces all in the sky, and there was kind of debris and a tail. The other plane was still level, flying straight off in this direction, kind of off to the west. That one would have been 6 Cat that would have been still flying, and to me it looked like he was going to continue flying and be able to go and land, but then just a moment later, you could see the nose just dropping, and down it went. And the moment I saw the first one without a tail, I said, he's not, that one's definitely not going to survive. That whoever's in that is not going to survive. The other plane I didn't know was 6 Cat at the time, but I thought, you know, maybe there's a control anomaly or something, and maybe they'll be able to pull out of it or something, because he disappeared behind the houses here, behind the house or the tree. I'm not sure which, one of the two. And I thought maybe he'll be able to pull out, maybe it'll happen, but you could just hear the second crunch, and it was pretty obvious that that neither one of them would have survived that. Everybody here was just in absolute shock and awe, and myself, I could feel my heart racing. I could see pieces in the sky falling. We're still like falling down, like kind of dust in the wind, like glitter almost falling. And I was a bit worried that those pieces might fall on all of us. So I was immediately looking around, like, where can we shelter here from these parts? And I looked over the car. I'm like, I could jump in there, I could jump behind there or something. But ultimately, the parts fell far enough away that they weren't a risk here. But I was just absolutely my heart was just absolutely racing. I was just I just wanted to run and run away and just do something. But I just realized, you know, my heart's pounding. I need to just sit down and just calm down, because you know, I could just make it worse. And I just popped on the stream and just, you know, I remember when I first heard the noise and seeing the accident starting to happen, or just had happened. I grabbed the camera and I tried to turn to see what was going on. I completely missed the shot there. Just, you know, purely documentary, just to, you know, get some video out there for like the NTSB, the FAA, whatever they could possibly use. Apparently there is other footage out there, so they'll be able to use that for aircraft investigation. But I don't want to go too much into speculation about what I think might have happened, but what I can hear on the radio call, and I'm going to include some of the video at the end of this, of, you know, people going around, and I'll give you content. I'll warn you before I'm about to post that, because it isn't showing the accident, but there is the noise, there is the panic and the pandemonium, and it's still a bit jarring to watch, knowing what's happening just off camera. But from listening back to the audio, seeing the video and whatnot, it sounded like Baron's Revenge, I believe it's number 14, called that he was on base for 08, which is where they were landing. So they would have been going straight down south from here, and then landing there. And some of the planes throughout the week were doing circuits effectively right along the tree line here, sort of right along the fence line, and others were going much further in, and much further in to do their final legs. And it kind of depended on the plane, right? So like the jets were always going further in, but the slower guys were cutting in a lot closer. So it kind of depended on the airplane, and it sounded like because I wasn't looking up at the sky, but you can kind of hear it, and it kind of, I think that Baron's Revenge was probably heading south right above us here, and that 6 Cat was probably coming in more at kind of a, I want to say a more almost kind of 90 degrees, like at a different angle to it, and they just didn't see each other. I don't know if it was 90 degrees, maybe 45 degrees, but they were effectively, one was coming down this way, and the other one, probably 6 Cat, was coming down this way, and they effectively not, you know, he didn't run in the back of him per se, but necessarily they come together. And we know from our flight training, that that's one of the worst situations you can be in. And I had a near miss myself here when I first bought my airplane, a very similar type of situation. We were flying over water. It was a float plane. Float planes were all flying, 500 feet above the water, and we're flying along, and suddenly I just kind of see something on the glint of my corner of my eye, and there's another plane, and we were effectively going 90 degrees to each other. And because if you're flying at about the same speed, same altitude, they effectively stay there, and your vision doesn't really pick that up as well, and you can just completely miss seeing them. Both pilots could have potentially had each other in there. I know that there's a lot of canopy and cockpit kind of clutter, structure around that might preclude them from being able to see each other. So they might have just not seen each other, and just into each other they went. Kind of a really, really sad situation, especially because the race had just ended. Like, we just seen the final T6 race here in Reno. I'm sure they were a bit choked up there. This is the last time they get to race in Reno. They placed so well. It was first and second place pilots, and then suddenly it just happened so quickly. Just no time to even react. I know there's some people on the stream that's asking, or even people calling me and saying, "Hey, can you go over and get a look?" And I was like, I don't want. There's nothing I can do to help. There's nothing I can do to help in this situation. The fire department's already there. If they're not there, they're getting there quickly. There's nothing I can do to help. And I kind of don't want to see it. I don't really want to capture footage of that. So that's basically what I saw here. I did want to talk a little bit about the control tower and how it kind of seems to be operating. I don't know exactly how they're supposed to be necessarily operating, but what I saw was throughout the week was that the planes were effectively, it's effectively like an uncontrolled airport, it seems, on once they're finished. They're all calling, letting each other know where they are, and they'll say, downwind or Abeam, Abeam 08, and they'll tell each other where they all are, and hopefully everybody knows where everybody else is based on those radio calls. And it seemed like a lot of the pilots anyways were giving good radio calls, letting everybody know where everybody else was. But there was probably, if we listen back to all of them, I suspect there's probably some that didn't make a radio call. It's a very uncontrolled situation where they're all kind of coming together. They're all, just like in any airport, you have certain distances you kind of should be from the airport, but it's not set in stone. So someone might be flying, 100 meters this way to someone else who's flying 100 meters that way, doing the same circuit. My own plane, for instance, flies a lot closer circuits because of a very, very bad glide ratio, especially when the flaps are out. Whereas other planes that are, much faster will fly a much further circuit. In gliders, for instance, our tow planes would always fly a much wider circuit than our gliders would, so that the gliders always had options. So even though circuits all have, specific definitions, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody's in the same place or expecting to be in the same place. And that might have contributed somewhat to that. So in many ways, this was not even really related to racing. This was kind of a freak accident just around just general circuits. And in obviously, see and avoid doesn't really work. kind of, there's no other way to say that. All right, there's a bit of background noise here too, but as I was driving back, I was thinking about the two other things I wanted to talk about, and completely forgot about it just standing out there. But the first was kind of about the initial response that we saw from Rah-Rah. In the first wording, the first announcement they put out, they said that that racing was suspended, and a lot of people took that to mean racing was canceled, and that wasn't necessarily the case. There has actually been cases before where racing has continued, sometimes the next day, sometimes later that day. And at the dinner later that evening, Fred Telling, the CEO of Rah-Rah, and I think I might even have video of this, he said that they had actually consulted the families, because the process when an event like this happens is it's not just, you know, kind of thrown to the wind and hopefully figure it out. They have a process, an internal process of dealing with this kind of thing. And the first thing they do is ask the family, what do you want to do? Do you want to continue racing? Do you want to allow racing to continue, or should racing cease? And they talked to the family, and the family actually said, of both families, they said they want to let racing continue. And but in consulting with the other race classes, they all said, or at least the ones we know of, they said no. The pilots are kind of in too much shock and it would be too dangerous to do to continue racing. And I think that's definitely the right decision. People seeing, you know, their friends not coming home and now going up and racing, it doesn't necessarily feel quite right, doesn't feel necessarily safe. But on the other side of that, at the chairman's dinner last night as well, I went to the chairman's dinner last year after Aaron Hogue crashed in his L29, and after that crash, they canceled all award ceremonies. We all just had a dinner. We all just kind of talked, but there's no award ceremonies. And after last year's event, in consultation with various race pilots, racing classes and whatnot, they realized that wasn't the right decision. They should have continued on with that. A lot of the race pilots felt that they should have continued on with that. I'd heard rumors of various race pilots saying, you know, if that was them who had passed away while racing, they would have wanted everybody else to receive their awards, to you know, either continue racing or whatnot. And it's part of this culture in racing where when you get in the plane, you get in the craft, you know what could potentially happen, and you don't want, it's not, you know, it's not up to the rest of the world to tell us, no, you can't do it. They take on the risk themselves, and they know the risk, they're able to do that. Obviously, it's a little bit different if you're someone on the ground, bystander or whatnot. You can't meaningfully consent to that type of risk. So, as I said, we do everything we can to minimize those risks. So later in the evening, the awards ceremony did go forward. We did, all the racers did get their awards, and one of the big moments later in the evening was they presented the award for T6 Gold, first and second place, to the teams, specifically to the crew chiefs of the two pilots who perished, and they stood up there and received those awards for them. So that's a little bit kind of inside how that a post-accident process works. There's a lot more machinations within that, but just when people saw that initial, they're like, is it canceled, is it not canceled? And it might have continued, but it obviously didn't. So and that's kind of there, and I'll get back to the other part of the video. So that's kind of what I had to say. Kind of wanted to get that out there. This is probably the last time I'm going to specifically talk about it. You know, if the NTSB or someone wants me to talk about it, I'll talk about it to them too as well. But you know, I'm not going to keep badgering on this. I know another question people had was what's the future of races, and what's the future of racing going to be? And I have some thoughts on that. I don't think racing is going to finish. I don't think racing is going to end. but I think that's a video for another time. I did want to mention this though. This is a band that was made for a friend of IF1, for Crichton King. It says Blue Skies and Tailwinds in his orange and blue color, and I was going to wear it for the entirety of Reno to honor Crichton, who passed away here a few weeks ago, getting his Cassette Racer ready to go. But it just feels kind of fitting to wear this for maybe a little while longer to honor both these pilots. So I don't even know if I'm going to release this video, but if you're seeing this, thank you for, I guess, sticking around. I'm going to show the crash video, the kind of not direct crash video, but the kind of around it, because I don't have direct crash video. So I'll give you a warning. You know, if you're a bit squeamish or don't want to see that, then I totally understand. Just click away. Yeah, thanks.
Second flag. 005.
Such a good race.
One forward, Downwind Abeam.
Keep an eye out, see, make sure.
Check.
Should be editing for a new video. I know, right? I do the same thing all the time. It's the last T6 race at Reno.
Race 6 is Downwind Abeam. 1-4 base of gear. Race 8 is Downwind Abeam. Race 5-0, Downwind Abeam behind 8-8. 5-0. 4-3, Downwind Abeam.
Oh shit.
Mayday down there.
Oh shit.
Red flag, red flag.
Oh no.